Okay, let's do this. Let's get this show back on the road. I hope I said everything right. Well, I guess it's too late now. Let's go and start live. We have our show. Looks like we're here. Great. Okay, now it's time to play some more chess. You guys are not going to believe what just happened. At the end of the previous video I was doing live, there was literally a blackout. What happened was there was just a complete blackout. All the electricity went out. Internet went out immediately. And that's why the stream just went to a sudden abrupt end. But we're back. We're restarting. I made sure to start the laptop as soon as electricity came back, but I have this 4-year-old brick laptop, so it takes 10-15 minutes to actually start up again and have the programs run and everything. But anyway, we're here now. Almost forgot to add some happy music, so here we go. We got the happy music rolling. We do the happy dance, and then we can play some chess. So let's check the chat as well, make sure that you guys are all active and commenting and all of the good stuff. Looks like, yep, we are here. So, okay, let's play some more games. Set a unrated game. And here we go. Might take a little bit of time to find an opponent. Okay, here we go. We've got a 1500 rated player. So, let's see. There's actually another story I was going to tell as well. I might share the story after the game. Gonna play Nimzovich Sicilian, something a little bit different. I have very good results with this line for some reason. People just don't seem to be ready for this d5 approach. Because even though it's objectively not the best way to play, you can see he played this knight d5 too early and he's just letting me take over the center with the pawns very fast, which is kind of what you're hoping for. And yeah, c4 is kind of a mistake because you're creating these weaknesses on d4 and also d3. I mean, I can very easily attack that pawn with my pieces like so. And, well, I can also just castle short for that matter. So he's going queen b3 trying to attack my pawn. Let's just defend it. There's one reason why maybe I should have put the queen on d7 instead. Might have been a little more precise. But anyway, he doesn't really have a great plan because he doesn't have a good pawn break in the structure. We move a3. He probably wants to play something like b4, but at the moment his queen is in the way. So that means his position is going to be quite inharmonious for this reason. So yeah, he's going to play f6. I'm keeping the piece on the board because I have a bit more space than he does, and that's going to be kind of unpleasant for him down the track. So, yeah, playing rook d8, hitting this guy. King h8, just keeping the king a bit safer and away from the white pieces. Queen c3, I mean, I can even just play a6 and b5. I probably could have just played b5 immediately, actually, but okay, I still want to try and open things up for my rook at some point. Maybe I'll even play knight d4 at some stages, jump into this really nice outpost. Let's do it now. I'm going to take back with the queen, I think, because then when I take back with the rook at the end, I'm going to be hitting the bishop and I'm going to be hitting the pawn on d3 as well. So anyway, let's continue on. Unfortunately, I have nowhere near as many stream viewers as we had before, because I had sort of shared this with so many of my different channels and people really pumped, and then it's what happens, the connection dies and now it's just me talking to myself. But, hopefully if I stream a bit longer, the people come back. But, we'll find out soon enough anyway. I guess it's good practice for me anyway to kind of do this streaming and get used to, talking about the moves and talking about other things while playing. I guess it's not a lot is happening in the position because I just won a pawn for free and the queens are coming off. Maybe I can share a little bit about what happened one time. Because I actually had a blackout in, I just realized I blundered 95 like an idiot, but thankfully didn't see it. But he is threatening back rank mate. Well, not really because I have rook d8, but I'm still going to stop it with the move g5. And so what happened was this time I was actually playing the Asian Nations Online Cup for the Australian team. And basically what happened there was in the tournament I was, basically there was this blackout in my place on the day that we were playing our final match against India to decide who would win the title. So it meant that basically because the internet wasn't coming back, there was this fear that I would have to basically miss the match and our reserve player, James Morris, would have to play for Australia instead of me. But obviously that wouldn't be give us as good a chance to win the match because I was on a higher board in comparison. So what ended up happening was I basically had to move at the last minute from my place, staying in Vietnam with my wife and her relatives. And what I had to do was I actually had to move to an internet cafe at the very last minute. And I was only just able to get the internet set up there in time to be able to actually play my match. So it's kind of funny then that actually, after all this setting up, things being so chaotic, that I actually managed to win this game. First game I played against a 2-6 50 Grandmaster with the white pieces playing the London system. But yeah, basically it was this crazy situation. not playing at home, but I had to move to like a public internet cafe more or less just to be able to play the match. And yeah, I was just very lucky it all worked out, and that still Australia was able to win the title in the end of the Asian Nations Cup 2020 champion. So you can see like White's not played this in the best way. He played move knight c3 too early, which is sort of blocking his pawn from moving. Knight e5 is quite a reasonable move though, but even though his knight is good on e5, he does still have the problem that he doesn't have the option to play pawn c3 and kind of build a pawn chain and keep the pawn defended. Also, I have moves like bishop to b4 now, where, you know, I can take on c3 and double up his pawns. That's the idea of bishop to b4. See, we still have only one viewer, so it kind of sucks, but what can you do? So anyway, I guess what I'll do is I'll just keep talking about the game, because, you know, maybe it will happen where many years later, when I have like 1 million viewers or whatever on this this stream, that people will watch the first video and see, so this was where it all began, and still sort of enjoy it later. We can hope at the very least. But okay, after castles, a3. I mean, I'm sort of thinking of taking anyway, so I'm not sure if he should have done this voluntarily. Because I go queen a5 and I put a lot of pressure on the c3 pawn. So yeah, and if c4 I have queen to a6 and I get this pin. But instead he's running into a nice fork, knight e4. End up picking up the pawn this way if I want it. And I think I do want it, you know, it's an extra pawn. And my knight will be very nice on this this c3 square, as it were. So anyway, yeah, okay, we have 2 viewers. Like, we now have hit a record for this this stream. So welcome, guys. Do be sure to leave a comment as well, because I feel like one of the viewers is probably myself as such. I'm not sure how it works, whether I, you know, whether it counts like me viewing it as one view, or whether it's not the case, where I'm like an invisible viewer because I'm streaming. Anyway, he's giving me a whole bunch of pawns, but I'm going to play rook b8 first and fight for the control of the open file and kind of leave these guys hanging for my knight to take later. So anyway, let's see what he does. Maybe he'll go c3. Okay, bishop c3, I just take it. He's not really able to trap my knight because I can always play c5 and have this square. And now he's giving me knight to a3. That's how you basically beat these players below 1200. At Blitz, they're just going to blunder pawns and pieces at some point, and you can just take advantage of it, just taking the pieces, as it were. So bishop e5, just to keep the pawn defended. Although technically I could have let him take, because I would have had a back rank mate, but okay, it's still completely winning. I've got a slew of extra pawns available here. I can play a4 and get this guy running down the board. I can play f6 and push the pawns this way. He just isn't able to cover everything. The position is so good that even if you take this knight on b5 off the board, I'm probably still at least equal and probably better in that case. But of course, with the knight, it's just a very simple win, as I will demonstrate to you guys here. So, okay, he goes h4, not really doing that much. I'm just going to bring my king in because, well, the king is a fighting piece in the endgame. We should get as active as possible. If you're wondering why I'm sort of all sweaty, it's because I was doing going for a walk while waiting for the electricity to come back. So, yeah, I'm going to play like king f5, h5, and just fix these pawns' weaknesses. Okay, I missed he can play bishop a5, or I would have played a4 first to defend the pawn and hit the rook. But okay, it's still completely and utterly winning for black here. Yeah, it may say like buzzer sound if you make an illegal move, but obviously it was a mouse slip. Anyway, yeah, he's going bishop c3. Let's just trade. I mean, my pawn armada, it's just running down the board like a Zerg rush, and so it's just like completely hopeless. Just want this guy to resign so I can find another player. Okay, rook c4, king d5. I can pre-move c4. This is fine. And I can always cover the checks with the rook. It's all well and good. Let's go rook a7. Let's just queen the pawn. Queen, queen, queen. Okay, gives a check. I can always run out of the checks like this though. King f4. Okay, let's play c2. Yeah, I got some nice royalty-free music in the background just to, you know, jam to it. It's kind of fun when you can combine your two loves, like listening to music and playing chess. And maybe it's free love, like listening to streamers such as myself here. Let's find a new opponent to play. Okay, we've got a 2100 rated player. Might go Benko against him. Well, let's play Benoni. Because it's sort of a good option if they play bishop f4. You can sort of annoy them. I can see b3 already is like not that great a move, because if you compare this to Caro-Kann exchange from the earlier game, the difference here is that now b3 just doesn't gel very well with bishop f4. I mean, you'll much rather have the bishop on b2 normally if you play b3. So on that basis, black is just very comfortable. The queen's not that great on b6, but I could always even bring it back if I wanted to. But I think I'm just going to play bishop e7 and just develop normally. Maybe the middle game plan I can even go bishop f5. I think I'm going to do that actually and cover this. Because, you know, if I could get in something like bishop a3 and bishop b2, I might suddenly be winning an exchange if white's not careful. So he goes knight e5. I'm just going to play rook f to d8. The reason I want to go knight e4, but I don't want to run into a knight d7 fork. That's my idea. And still white is struggling to find a good pawn break. I mean, g4 just weakens the king, and knight c6 is kind of a concession, because I can go c5 and now hit his center much more easily than before. He might play move b4, yeah, trying to stop that, but I can also play like a5, and after a3 move like knight e4 maybe, just to try to attack this. Well, after knight takes just leads to exchanges, it doesn't really do that much for me. So I mean, white's played very solidly, not that easy to prove any sort of big advantage here, but you know, we keep the game going and see what happens. If he goes bishop to d3, that's kind of the move I'm expecting, because this is probably my best piece on the board. I could just take the bishop, but I could also retreat the bishop to g6 and keep a bit more tension if I want to. Kind of like I did in the game in the previous stream, actually. So here's bishop d3. I think I'm going to take. And the reason I'm taking is I want to go queen b5. And if he takes me, I take back and I get this very nice pressure against the c3 pawn. So he keeps the queens on with queen g3. I'm just going to play bishop f8 and anticipate the coming attack on the g7, as I'm pretty sure that this is his idea. So he goes h4. He's trying to use the h pawn as a battering ram, but I've got h6 to just block that. I can go queen to c4 and hit this pawn. I can also try to build up on the a file and at the right moment take b4 and invade that way. The fact that white's quite weak on those light squares means that black is really quite comfortable, well, until I blunder a pawn, that is. But, I mean, yeah, this is obviously not great at all. Now I think white is just better. But maybe I can still try for some tricks, maybe like bishop a5, c5, and you know, use the fact that the pawn is kind of overloaded. Unfortunately, because my position was so good before that, I can just blunder a pawn like a moron and still probably have good compensation, funnily enough. So he could also just keep the tension when move like rook a d1, and that might be the move he ends up playing. Man, it's crazy what a difference it makes. So like with actually, you know, saying I'm doing the stream and having like 5 or 6 viewers, and then having like one viewer. Whoever the one viewer is, yeah, it's like a private lesson you're having right now. It's kind of funny. Okay, so queen d3, I'm going to take, and I already hate this. I mean, it kind of sucks, you know, when you have this where you are, you know, playing badly, and you're also, like, just, no one is watching. I guess maybe that's the better way of which we think about, like, you don't really want thousands of people to watch you playing like a complete idiot for the most part, you know, unless you're getting compensated very well for it. So rook a4, I go rook b1. This is a nice little trick that I can win the pawn, and I mean, the rook ending is still, I think, kind of drawish, probably. And if he plays correctly, he can probably hold. But I'm going to make his life difficult. He's just going to try harassing my pawns. But I'll go rook b4. And after traded pawns, it will at least give me a passed pawn to work with. And, you know, there's some imbalance, so I can try to make something happen. Like king f8, maybe rook e5 and attack this way. So that's what I'm going to do. King g4, I have king f8. And that forces the rook away. And it frees my rook as well. He goes king f4, which I completely missed was possible. But okay, I can go rook f5 or rook e back. I could play it either way. I'm going to play rook e2, just trying to provoke a g4 move or something like this. My king is very passive though. This is the reason why it's very hard to black to have realistic winning chances at this point, unless white kind of screws it up. But I can still maneuver, try to do something like rook h2, for example, which does allow king e5, which he could have played, but he decides not to. I mean, at some point I'm going to have to try to get in d4, but he's going to play rook to d7 all the time. So maybe this is the time to play rook f2, just kind of maneuver a little bit more, let him try to make some concessions like maybe f4 or something. But yeah, I'm sort of just shuffling and not really getting anywhere. Though I have at least, I mean, stopping king e5, that's one nice thing. And you know, now I'm getting an e5 at a time where, you know, it's not so easy for him to attack these pawns, because my king is kind of covering it. But he can just play king e3, and I mean, it's still very hard for black to make any sort of progress because his rook is just too active, and now I just blundered rook b5 like an idiot. So now it's just basically a complete draw, but I'm going to try to create some practical chance like e4 and try to make something of this, but really it's nothing. And yeah, now we're just getting the pawn back by force, which is just fantastic. Okay, so rook here, but now it's going to be like threefold repetition, so I just have to play like this dead drawn ending and basically dirty flag the guy because I played so badly before. I think it's just because I'm like just so annoyed. Hang on, can I take? I don't think I can. It's just going to be a draw if I take. So I'm just going to keep the piece on the board and just maneuver. Rook f3. If I go here, then my rook is forever paralyzed. But his king is also kind of paralyzed. So yeah, whatever. Let's just play this because I'm too annoyed. Okay, let's go rook a4. Yes, I'm not getting mated. A king can always run away to e6, but he goes rook e3 instead. Yeah, I mean, it's... Okay, now he's actually... Has he blundered a pawn? I think he's blundered a pawn, but it's still a dead draw, because I'm stuck with this useless h-pawn. Yeah, he goes rook here, and yeah, I mean, now just a complete dead draw. I mean, it's sort of bad to kind of flag like this, but I'm just, like, so angry at myself that I'm just going to do it. So, yeah. Yeah, not really a very deserved win, but okay, I end up flagging. Man, I played so terribly this game. Like, I think it's just, like, the stress, you know, of playing, you know, after, like, this blackout. Because I was just really in the zone of a really good strain, like 4 or 5 people. I have the blackout, and then saying, like, hardly anyone watched just really, really pisses me off. Because I really put, like, a lot of effort into reaching out to, like, different, you know, audience have to get people to watch. But okay, now at least have, like, a player rated 2-300. Actually, also based in Vietnam, I can see. So let's see how it goes. Might play c4, but my results with c4 being, like, really, really not good. So I'm going to play just London system. This is not the most precise roll because he could have gone queen b6 earlier, but he didn't know it. And now, I mean, if you get this Slav where the bishop's on f4, it's just really nice for white. Because normally you don't get the bishop on f4 in the Slav like this. And this is basically a really good example of the structure white's aiming for, because you're going to go b4 and b5. And then the double pawns are actually really good for white after that. Because I'm able to attack the base very close to the base of his pawn chain. Didn't expect this song, but I kind of like it. Okay, let's... knight h5 is so annoying, though. Okay, let's play bishop here. My idea is to kind of provoke him to go h6, g5. He wants to trade instead. Yeah, this is not the best position I could possibly have, but I can go h3 and at least force a knight back and go knight f3. And if I've taken too long to play b5, I can just go a6 and stop it. Fortunately for me, he doesn't do that. I might change the soundtrack, actually. Just bear with me for one moment. Because this is like sort of a dubstep one. I thought that this would be just dancing electronic music. I guess dubstep is sort of dance electronic, but a little bit of a different genre. But it's not letting me pause the video. So I'm just going to close this window and go back to the other track I had. So my go-to track. Warren, we have a comment. I actually didn't realize. He said, keep it going. Very interesting. Yeah, thanks. Really appreciate the support. You know, it's, as I said before, it was really difficult when the stream just died due to things that are totally outside my control. But, you know, we're back. And my hope is that, you know, in the next couple of hours, we can maybe get a few people to come in again. You know, because, I mean, on the thing on chess.com, on Facebook Gaming, basically what they sort of have is when I checked how many likes chess had, it had 61,000 likes. And personally, I would really love to contribute to bring that up to 100,000, because I do think chess does deserve to become more and more popular, and, you know, there are like over 2 billion people on Facebook or something, so definitely I think it's a logical place to, you know, to spread the popularity of chess and, you know, share our love of this great game. Actually, it's also made one question. Yeah, where I said, yeah, people watch it later, of course, and this is actually a really good point that, you know, just because maybe no one's watching it now, but one day there'll be a lot more people watching, and I was like, oh yeah, let's go back to what it was like in the beginning, you know, before it was cool, sort of hipster style. Actually, bishop b7 was probably not that great, because he can actually take b4, and then he's hitting d4, and a whole bunch of pawns get traded, and because he has not a lot of space earlier, it kind of helps him to trade some pieces and trade some pawns. So I expect him to go rook b4, or maybe he goes ed4 first. Okay, let's take... The one annoying thing is that I don't have an easy way to defend the pawn, but I guess I can go rook c1, kind of kick the bishop, and then when the bishop retreats, I'm going to have more options. Like, I can play rook d1 and defend a pawn that way, or I can play knight e2 and defend it. So I think my position is still better, even though I definitely have misplayed this position, but I still kind of like my chances. I think I'll go rook a4, actually. I don't know if rook a4 is the most precise, but I kind of wanted to keep my knight on c3, attacking a pawn on d5. That's my thinking with this move. So anyway, let's see. Also, I'm checking the comments every now and then. I guess I can also maybe share a few stories as well while waiting for him to make his move. I remember like also another technical challenge that I had in the past in a tournament. It was where I was playing in Budapest, and these were actually my first Grandmaster round robins I was playing in Hungary. And basically, before the third tournament, the day before the third tournament, there was actually a power surge in the hotel where I was staying, which is actually also a hotel where the event was being held in this first Saturday tournament. Knight e4 would be a good move, except I think knight b5. And I think I can just grab a pawn with this fork. But anyway, going back to the story, basically, what happened was there was this power surge, and the laptop that I brought had just completely died as a result, because I think I had still had the laptop connected in to the power while I was eating breakfast when the surge happened. But the thing is that I was like so well prepared for this tournament that I actually had brought a spare laptop with me, so I could still use the laptop to prepare, but all of the preparation I'd done for the tournament was on my main laptop that I had brought with me, as it were. So what happened was basically I thought, do I still play the tournament? Do I withdraw? Because, I don't have my main laptop, I lost my preparation. And then I decided to play the tournament anyway, and a big reason is because I could actually still remember the preparation I did, and actually put what I remembered of the preparation back into my the old spare laptop that I had brought. So I ended up basically playing the tournament, ended up being like a big breakthrough performance, where I ended up actually getting my first Grandmaster norm at this event. And I wasn't even even a national master at the time. I was still only a FIDE master. FIDE, of course, being the World Chess Federation. But yeah, basically ended up like having this breakthrough tournament because I didn't give up just because I had the technical problem, but I just kept on playing the event and just had the tournament of my life at that time. It was really really special. Okay, I have to be a little bit careful here because he is getting some piece activity, and I don't want to run into some mate like g5 and h4 or whatever, but he doesn't do this. I'm going to take with the f pawn actually, which is probably a mistake, but I was worried if hg4 he might try to mate me with some bishop f4 and rook g2 or something. Yeah, he's just being annoying here, just attacking my pawns, and I also need to kind of play a bit faster actually, because I'm spending so much time storytelling and not focusing on the actual game. So okay, you can go this way, I'll take... Okay, I'm still a pawn up at least. I'm stopping rook e3 with this move, but he's going to give a whole slew of checks now. Okay, rook e2, didn't even realize he could do that. But okay, I'll go rook e8, threaten knight f8 and hit the rook that way. And I think that's working. I mean, I can certainly repeat, there's nothing really lost by doing this. Knight f4, yeah, he flags. But I think my position's winning anyway once I take and just have the connected pass, which I could have probably pushed this a million times before. As you can see, I made a whole lot of mistakes, and what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to do a review of this game. Kind of play an interesting game where maybe I make some mistakes, can learn from it. I think it's good to do a little review and share maybe the way I could have played it better as such. Well, the guy who's actually the biggest Facebook gaming chess streamer at the moment. Well, the biggest, like only really the only one really. This guy named Charlie Sardo. He has just got 10,000 followers just yesterday actually on the stream. So yeah, he was kind of one who partly inspired me to actually do this, seeing if he can have a really great success with a Facebook gaming stream, then why not join in the fun as well. So okay, let's skip ahead to the next key moment because the move's playing pretty quickly here. Yeah, bishop g5. I kind of knew this wasn't a very good move, but I was just sort of not really thinking straight in this game. I mean, I'm guessing it's bishop to c7, and if they go rook c8, you just move the bishop back and kind of say, well, your pawn on here is under fire as a result. I guess this is the point. But anyway, actually maybe the point is if rook c8, you go like bishop e5, and then if takes, you kind of trap their piece with h3 and g4, and because it's going to be a fork, they can't really get out of it in time. Like, let's say if they play bishop here, for example, you just go g4 and you just win the bishop, as it were. Or if they go g6, free, or you can even just take the pawn for free, because this is also a threat in this case. But anyway, let's go back to the review, what the next opportunity or next key moment was. Okay, so okay, Lee says this was one great move. I guess we'll take the positives. Yeah, h3 I think is just a waste of a tempo because he probably just wants to play this anyway. I should just go b5 because giving him a chance to play a6 just stops me opening up the queenside like I did in the game, and I'd have to do this maneuver to a5 to attack the pawn, but without the bishop covering the stop rook b8, it's just a lot less effective simply. So anyway, let's continue with the game analysis. I'm going to skip here because I know what I should have done already. So yeah, b5 kind of should have played a lot earlier. So yeah, castles, saying I'm playing good moves. It's kind of funny, like it's all because I made so many dumb mistakes. The engine is trying to encourage me and say, you're not that stupid. You actually could play it okay. Yeah, rook b7 I kind of now see that is a blunder because he could have played knight takes c5, take, and I can't defend the bishop with the rook because then my knight will be on So rook b7 is incredibly dumb. But let's try and find a better way to play it. Because my initial idea was just to put a knight on c6, like let's say knight c6 like this. And that's probably what it's going to say is the best move. Okay, probably I should instead go the other knight to c6 and defend it that way. But yeah, I'm playing really... Okay, it's saying another move is best. I'm kind of confused. Is it trolling me? Oh, it's saying you should take the knight. Okay, because I don't know why exactly, but probably it's to avoid something like this knight c5 tactic, so I can play rook b7. Okay, that I can kind of understand. Let's see what other sort of dumb things I did. Yeah, I mean, this position, yeah, king f2. Yeah, I'm sort of allowing him to potentially get the rook in. This is why this was not the best idea. I should just put my king on h2, because even though it's sort of an endgame, there is still 3 pieces left on the board each, and that's enough for him to kind of be annoying to my king. Anyway, let's see. So let's skip past this one. Yeah, king f1. Okay, if it says I have a threatened winning material, then that means I should play knight e7. Because that way I'm not just hitting this pawn, but I'm also threatening knight g6 ideas. Maybe bring knight this way. I can also go knight f5 and hit this pawn, so just a much more harmonious move. But I didn't do that. Instead I played this dumb knight b4 move, and I'm kind of getting annoyed at seeing like how many stupid mistakes. I should have just played rook b7 and just defended this. I was going to go like bishop b5 and kind of like he didn't do it in the game, but he could have got like bishop b5 here. And kind of, even though it's still probably winning for white, it's not as easy when he can try to grab this pawn back for, king e3, rook a3, just kind of annoy me with checks. Although, of course, computer is saying you're stupid, play h4, and kind of play this way. But anyway, instead, yeah, the game went kind of differently, and I'm still getting a bit bored of like just looking at all my sort of dumb mistakes. Like I already said before that I should have played hg4. Actually, maybe I should go king takes g4. This didn't occur to me in the game, but yeah, I should do this so I can get my king in and not worry about those mating sort of ideas I was worried about in the game. Okay, I think I've spent enough time talking about this game, so let's play another one. Keep in mind that you can challenge me as well. My username on chess.com is Illingworth, as you can see here if it wasn't obvious already. This guy wants to play me again, but I'm going to try and find a different opponent, have a little bit of variety. Also, because like I'm playing just completely drunk at the moment, because I'm sort of going off of a sleep reset. Because my sort of like I'm so sort of hyperactive all the time. I just really find it hard to kind of go to sleep like within 16 hours of waking up. Now it's sort of funny that I played this English once in the previous stream, and my opponent there also played d5, and basically just gets a very poor man's Scandinavian. Because in the Scandinavian, the e2 pawn is on c2, and at least then this pawn's kind of blocked. But here I'm able to get the pawns on d4 and e4 and just have complete domination of the center. You can see that bishop f5 already just gives me this move with tempo. So it goes bishop g6, and I want to have some bit of fun here. I'm going to play the move h4, threatening h5 and trapping the bishop in a kind of Noah's Ark style. And f5 is not the best way to deal with it. Just go h5, kicking the bishop away. And then when the bishop retreats, I'll just take that pawn and just be a whole pawn up simply. And he's also weakened his king terribly with this pawn f5 move. A lot of light squared weaknesses, as you can see here. And the plan would just be like knight f3, knight e5. Okay, he's attacking my pawn, so let's set a little trap with bishop d3. The trap is that if they take my pawn, it looks undefended, right? But I go bishop b5, and then I'm going to win the king like that. Also, I'm checking comments every now and then, so, if you do comment, then I will eventually see it. Though I do try to focus on the actual game, because, well, that's what you're supposed to do as a grandmaster, to actually think about your moves rather than, just playing the first thing that comes to mind. Though, quite frankly, most of the time I end up playing the first move that comes to my mind anyway. I think it was Magnus Carlsen who once said he had a similar experience when he was playing that most of the time. In classical, the move that he is going to end up playing is a move he was going to play at the start anyway, but he spends the time just kind of double-checking the variation, just making sure that he hasn't missed anything kind of stupid, basically. So anyway, after rook g8, I'm going to go queen e2 just to defend this. Maybe it was better just to take here, but I can always do it after rook g7. It's still going to be a safe pawn grab for me. Alright, let's see. Goes knight c6. Now, note I can't play d5 yet. At least I don't think I can, because he has queen d5, and he can basically keep his queen alive with the pin. So I'm going to just take the pawn first. And I have knight g5 as well to sort of annoy him like this. So, I mean, my king might even end up being on a square like f1 in such a position. Just kind of getting out of the pin and sort of making d5 a much bigger threat for that reason. So we have this fine like back and forth arrow. Can I just go knight g5 though? I think knight g5 is pretty good, so let's do it. I'm hitting his queen, that's why he's not in time to take my rook, by the way. I could go knight takes e3 though, which I completely overlooked. The problem is after knight e3, f takes, he has queen f6 check, and I just blundered the exchange like a moron here. So yeah. It's just, because I felt like I was playing sort of decently earlier in the stream, but in this one I'm playing a lot worse for sure. But okay, I blundered a piece with check, so now it should be a pretty straightforward win, just trade pieces and convert the extra material essentially. So he's probably going to go king to b8. I'm going to take on g6, or I could even go knight e4 if I want to play a little more dynamically. But I'm just going to trade because it just is in my best interest to trade when I have so much material. It's kind of like, you know, if you take football, for example, it's much easier to win if you have like 2 players against 1 than if you have, 11 players against 10. It is a much larger numerical advantage on percentage as such. So I'm going to play knight f6. I'm just going to remove the defender blocking my pawn from queening, and then it's going to be a pretty easy win for white. Knight to e6, just keeping everything defended, attacking the rook. I can bring my pawn up as well just to defend like this. And I think if there are any other stories I have to come to mind, but at the moment, I sort of shared the main stories I was thinking. One thing I did share on the previous stream was of how I got into wanting to do Facebook gaming, and it's kind of funny because in that stream I kind of said, you know what, if I only have like 2 people watching, it's fine because it means I'll be able to see how many people I normally get without using any like Facebook ads to drive traffic to the stream. And yeah, and it's kind of funny because now I have 2 people, but like 5 or 6, I'm like as happy about it now. So okay, let's play 1700 guy. Let's play Scandinavian, do it a little bit differently. Obviously there's a better version of Scandinavian now because even though I still lose time with the queen, he can't play like d4 and e4, and he can't play d4 and c4 to fully dominate the center. White is still a little bit better if he plays correctly, but I can very easily get my bishop out, play moves like e6, c6, knight e7. And even without knowing a whole lot of theory, this is a very decent way to play the opening. I'll play bishop g4 actually, just something a little bit different, where I'm just going to pin the knight and just sort of limit their options a little bit like this. Now d3 is kind of a passive move, but there's nothing terribly wrong with it. The pawn is a bit more active on d4, however. So he's just putting his piece on very normal squares. This is sort of the way that you'll often see people play against you if you play Scandinavian, where they're not really playing very critical moves, but at the same time, it's not like you're getting a winning position as the opening as black either. It's very hard to find an opening that does this unless white plays very, very badly. So queen f5, the idea is I'm just going to have this annoying pin. So if he does move the bishop, I can now take and give him doubled pawns. And yeah, he gets the bishop pair, but the bishop pair doesn't really help that much when his structure is so inept. So he's going for knight d6. This is a good idea on his part, but it doesn't really threaten that much. I could even take it or just defend, and he doesn't really have that great of a follow-up after this. And if he tries to play like f4, f5, I can just go g6 and make sure that's never going to really be an issue. So I might just play rook e8. Actually, rook e8 allows knight d6 with tempo. It was not that smart, but okay, I can always move the rook back. It's not the end of the world here. Oh, I could go knight f5 because he's got this rook e7 and this. Yeah, playing so dumb today. But okay, I don't think he's going to see it. And if he does, I still have rook e8 and the game does still go on. But white's probably somewhat better in that case. Oh, wow, I didn't even see knight f7 as possible. Oh, man, I'm like playing the worst chess in my life at this moment. If I was like on my deathbed, I think I would play better chess than this. But it's still probably going to be good enough because his line probably wasn't as good as I actually first thought it would be. Although if he's able to trade the rooks, then it's sort of okay for white. Because it's sort of a general principle in these lines that you want to trade the rooks if you have one more rook than the opponent. You'll see how to trade it now, only he has the power of the rook, whereas earlier the rooks were this one was sort of treading on this guy here, whereas now it has a free movement. I'm going to play knight to d6. So after rook f4, knight, bishop f6, I just take away a lot of squares from that rook. And fortunately, because his structure is kind of bad, I think that my position is still probably better, even though on the old material values, you might know something like, let's say, rook is 5, pawn is 1, knight is 3. But in reality, the knight is actually close to 3.5, so it's actually fairly equal in terms of material in that respect. But of course, depends on the position, which one is better. Of course, the fact the position here is more close does kind of lend itself a little more to the strength of the pieces there. Okay, so I'm going to play Mora Gambit, just, it's one way to make the stream more fun, play some gambits, have some sharp attacking chess, so doing it for you guys. So knight takes c3, knight c6, knight f3. What I say about the Moro is that the attack ideas are very easy for white to understand. Like if you played e6, you could just play like queen e2 castles, rook d1 and put on the d file. But here I'm going to play e5, because if you let him get the dragon set up completely, it's very hard to essentially get some, to sort of get enough pressure. But the point of e5 is that if he were to take, I would have this trick with bishop f7, queen d5, and I'd basically get the piece back. But e6 is a big mistake, because he's letting me get in knight e4 and knight d6. And I think I want to play it immediately and even just offer the pawn as bait, because after knight d6, he's going to lose the right to castle. I think that is probably more important here than the fact that I am currently down 2 pawns. 2 pawns are not really that significant if you can't get the pieces out. And king e7 was a mistake. He should have played king f8, because now I can go takey, and he can't take back because of the pin. And if he takes the bishop, I go knight f7, and I win the exchange. So I get my material back, and I also still have a very strong attacking position. So okay, let's see how we do. I know I've been streaming this for like 35 minutes. Okay, let's keep going then. So queen here. Okay, his idea is that after this he can at least get a knight back. I mean, I could even just keep the pressure if I wanted to, but I don't really see a particularly smart way to do that. Unless I go... I'm wondering if I can play like bishop b3 and then like meet take with take, but maybe I'm overthinking a bit. I think I'm just going to take it and be done with it. Because if he takes, my point is I can take knight f7, and I would actually be able to win this back. So he takes with the bishop instead. I'm going to just cash in my chips, take, probably bishop b3, because even though I can still take the pawn, I can go rook b1, and I mean, I'm technically down material there, but I at least have some attack going. And I think I have a very clever trick, actually, after the bishop retreats. I'm calculating at the moment whether I can play bishop e6 and rook e1 and try to win the queen like this. But he has this bishop e5 move, and it's not so easy to break through. So I'm going to prepare it with rook e1, let his queen move away, but I mean, I think objectively the position is probably quite good for black because, I'm just playing like a complete beginner today. But hopefully I'll be able to still outplay him anyway. But I'm playing very, very slowly. It's very tricky going for bishop e6, queen f2. So I'm going to play queen to d2 to defend my pawn. And yeah, now you should just go bishop d4 and knight f6, and he just has a very strong attack. But okay, he missed that I'm threatening to play queen g5 and at least get one of the pawns back. And I want to keep the queens on the board, I think. It's hard to say, but I think I want to keep the queens on the board because his king is more open than mine at the moment. And I think if I trade the queens, he's just going to start pushing his pawns, whereas with the queens on, he wants to keep them more as a bit of a shield for his king. Bishop d4 is a good move to pressure this here. If knight f6, he's thinking about knight g4. So I might not play a move like queen g5 or even h3 or g3 just to kind of deal with it in advance. Like, good chess is not just about, of course, what you want to do, but it's also about understanding what your opponent is trying to do. And so you can see here, I realize I have queen g5. And with the fork, I force his knight back, so that gained me a little bit of time in the position. Maybe I could have gone bishop e6, but I didn't really think about it enough. Actually, h4 is a very dubious move, in fact. Because he now can play h6, and if I take, he'd go queen takes g3. And yeah, I completely overlooked this. Fortunately, he didn't see it either, and I now have rook d1, and I can bring some pieces into the attack. But his position is very solid. He doesn't have any big weaknesses, and also helps that I'm playing it extremely badly. I already made 5 mistakes according to the computer analysis when I look at it afterwards. I really shudder at the thought of looking at the analysis, saying, congratulations, you played like a 1700 this game, but your opponent played even worse, and so by some complete fluke you managed to win. Okay, let's play... I mean, king a just wants to break the pin and move the knight somewhere, but I'm not sure where the knight is going to go. Well, maybe I just play king h3, just get the king out of the way of any sort of checks. That's just a little prophylaxis here. For those who are wondering, prophylaxis is anticipating what the opponent's trying to do, like thinking about what does the opponent want to do when also deciding on your move. Now, I have to be very careful not to allow queen h1 mate, but luckily my rook is covering it, so that's definitely something for me to keep in mind. He could go bishop... Okay, queen f3... Queen f3 is actually a lot more annoying than I'd first thought, but I think I can play bishop e6. Yeah, that works. It covers queen g4, and he can't take because then I have mate. So I think he's just blundered this, and that's probably the key turning point in the game, because I think he was doing okay. And nice to actually have 3 viewers. Like, I don't know what your names are because you haven't commented, but yeah, welcome to the stream, guys. So bishop here, and you have knight takes. We have queen e7, and we just start collecting the harvest. So okay, let's do this with a check. I was wondering if rook d7 is better, but I can always, you know, play at a later stage. Or I can just play like queen c7 and queen d7. Okay, he's trying to run this way, but I can also, you know, bring my rooks in the attack in different ways. Maybe, what's the best way? Maybe just queen to d6, perhaps. Queen d6 is probably a bad idea, because he can go king a5, and I don't really have a great check after that. But okay, rook e5, we can try to do some damage, like queen d2, just try to create some weaknesses and try to get my pieces to better squares with tempo. Rook e6, I can go like queen d7 maybe, and just try to go for mate. I mean, I guess he can trade the queens at some point, but I'm thinking rook e7 maybe at this point. I can also just trade. Yeah, I'm going to do this because I'm threatening mates. Okay, so he trades, but now I'm winning this. Okay, lose on time, but I'd either go rook d7 or like rook f5, rook d8, and his king will be too exposed. Yeah, look at this, like 6 blunder. This was an extremely badly played game by me. But let's do a review and try to at least learn from it and see what I could have done better. Yeah, I played like a 1700. If anything, I probably underestimated like how terribly I played. So you guys sent me a friend request. Winning, and then I just like completely choked over and over and over again. It's like they're just constantly scoring own goals. So okay, let's fast forward a little bit to see what moves were played. So yeah, okay, it says I played the opening very well, and it was sort of here that it all started to really go pear-shaped for me. So what should I do instead? Maybe I should just develop with queen d2, like queen g5, and just try to defend this knight. So it's an inaccuracy. Well, what should I have done instead? Saying queen d3. I honestly don't know what the difference is between queen d3 and queen d2. Maybe there's some deep point where you have knight g6, but I really don't see it. Anyway, let's see what the next stupid mistake I made was. Oh, it was on the very next move. Playing like mistakes in pairs now. Okay, so what should I have done instead? Maybe, well, he's threatening to take here, so that kind of limits my options. Maybe just knight e4. Yeah, I didn't want to play knight e4 because I thought d5 and I would just lose the piece, but I guess the point is you just sack and you have a big attack against the king in the center. Anyway, let's see what else was done. So I had an opportunity to threaten winning material, so that's the hint as to move I should play. Could I play bishop takes e6? Because it felt like this should somehow be working, but I didn't think it was working. Yeah, he just plays this in bishop e5 and there's nothing. So what is it instead? Bishop d5? Of course I could play bishop d5 and just win with this rook against the queen. Yeah, I just played so stupidly. Okay, let's move to the next one. It says I missed a winning move and now I'm losing. Okay, that's great to know. Well, what should I do instead then? Okay, so it turns out, yeah, instead of being winning, I'm losing after one move, like a -6 level move, like a negative talent move I just played here. Is it bishop e6? I think I can play bishop e6 anyway. Because if he goes queen and he takes the bishop, I have rook b7, and either I mate with king e8 and queen d7 mate, or if king f6, I have rook f1, I simply win the queen like that with the skewer. Man, I'm such an idiot this game. I never played, I think I've played chess my whole life, except maybe like the first game I ever played. Maybe that was worse, but otherwise this is absolutely atrocious. My next move. Oh wait, we already talked about that. So, queen c1 is a blunder. Yeah, I kind of figured queen c1 was stupid, but I was just kind of panicking like an idiot at this time. So what should I do instead? I mean, I don't think it makes sense to trade the queens, but maybe, I don't know. Do you play like queen g4 or something? Because I was worried about bishop d4, but yeah, I guess I just rook e2 and it's nothing. And I still keep some pressure on e6 to friend like sacks here and rook b7. But okay, let's move on to another better way I could have played it. Okay, what else have we got? Okay, so queen g5 was good, but this was... I said before, like h6, and this is just completely killing. Just very, very bad play on my part to do this. So what should I have done instead? Maybe just king g2. That was the other move I was thinking. I didn't play because I was worried about queen c6 and knight e4, but I could just go f3. But now it's saying king g2 is bad as well. So I have obviously some winning continuation here, but I don't know what it is. I mean, is it rook d1 maybe? Just pinning the bishop? Yeah, it says the one good move. Like, yeah, it's crazy. Like, instead of being winning, I'm just losing. And this one I'm just kind of annoyed because like, I made like 3 mistakes in a row. Just very depressing to play like so badly. Again, I should have lost this game against an 1800. Like, just, yeah, really angry for being such a terrible chess player sometimes. Anyway, let's see who else we might play. So let's see, it's 10 o'clock. I think, I guess I can check, like, see whether I have any new messages. Be a good thing to look at this. Because I just completely lose track of the time when I'm streaming, you know, like you get in the zone, you just totally forget, you know, everything else that is going on. So, yeah, let's continue with another game. Let's find a new opponent. By the way, you can challenge me as well if you are watching this live. My username being Illingworth, as you can see on the page here. But now I'm playing against a 1,000 rated player. I played English opening again, just to have a little bit of variety. Because one thing in the English is you can often play it systematically. Like, it's very easy to play something like G3, Bishop, G2, castles, and just have a very safe position. So that's one reason the line is somewhat popular, let's say, like 1800 to 2200-ish level. So, okay, D4, my idea is that I'm going to take. And then I'm going to have a bit more space in the center because of my pawn on C4. Now, if he doesn't take, I go D5, and then his knight just gets kicked around, and I just get a very good Benoni structure as white here. If you're worried about the background, of course, this is not the real background. I'm going to actually do something very cheap. I should just play the move E4, but since he's rated 1000, he might think I just blundered a pawn, and now Queen A4 fork is the trap I want to show, where to end up winning a piece. You know, having the alertness, these tactics, it's how you become a much better player, where you think, okay, I'm not just going to assume his threat is real, but can I actually ignore that threat? And sometimes you can actually ignore the threat and just do something else instead, kind of like we saw here. So I'm going to just keep the tension. If he takes, my knight gets to a better square, and then my queen would also get to a better square after takes. So this is a very nice exchange. Of course, it's also nice to trade the pieces when you are up material, but I would be a good move even if the material was still equal. So at this point, as this old saying like the GM say, the rest is a matter of technique. And that was like almost kind of like a comedic sort of saying in some ways, because, well, it's sort of like where in times it's not as simple as a matter of technique. Like it should be winning, engine says +10, and somehow, you know, the game ends up being a loss for the side that was winning. You know, if you play like and you analyze your games, the engines, you probably see this a lot, right? But yeah, of course, like a matter of technique, it still requires some skill to actually win it. Well, now he's giving me a pawn, and I could play Rook D1 first, but I'm going to just take it. I'm not going to overcomplicate things, because previous game I tried to be clever and just was basically a total idiot the whole game. So I learned my lesson, just play simple moves, like play something like even a complete moron would still like be able to find the moves over the board. Okay, he's giving me another pawn, thank you very much. Ooh. So Rook C8, let's take. I always have the same track playing, but because with the other players had it wasn't like that effective. I guess if I could look it up, I could try to find some other playlists, like it was royalty-free music. That was what I found on YouTube before. So I guess I can, you know, go back to that. Let's see. Okay, let's change the track. Have a little bit of variety. Why not? This one's a little bit longer actually. I have no idea what genre this is. This is like going to be a new experience for both of us. As I was changing the track, he also played a move. Let's just defend pawn E3. Keep burying, nice protected. Okay, so we have this one here. Let's leave a like, because why not? We have this feel like that if you sort of like and subscribe and, you know, comment a lot on other people's streams, and other people will kind of do the same back to you, kind of spreading the good karma and love around. So it's why I like to do that. So okay, he plays bishop f3. I'm just going to take back and keep the attack on his bishop. And, you know, I am up a piece. Yeah, I think because my internet's a little bit slow while I'm streaming, it's why sometimes it takes a bit slow. It's actually a really cool track. I really like this track. You know, you can let me know in the comments below, like, you know, if it's a track that you enjoy. And, yeah, having a good time chilling with chess. Okay, also check any comments, but okay, no more for the moment. So yeah, if you go Queen E7, I could even play a move like Rook D7, which I think is even better than trading the queens, because I can then play like Bishop D5 and, you know, put a lot of heavy pressure on the F7 pawn, which is kind of the weakness in Black's position here. So yeah, let's see what he does in response. Because he only really has two moves as far as I can tell, to move the queen to E6 or move it back to F8, because everything else is just going to lose material here. The Queen 6, Bishop D5, and I just pile everything on this F7 pawn. And he doesn't have a good defense to it. Because when I take F7, I'm also hitting these guys as well. I might go E4 first, just so he's not attacking my rook, and then I'm going to take on F7 after that. So I'm going to take the rook, and I'm just going to consolidate Queen E3, just make sure my king is safe, my pawn is safe, still keeping the attack on this pawn. Oh, I just blundered the rook like an idiot. but I don't think he sees it. Yeah, he didn't because he didn't play the move. But now I'm playing like a low elo edge. Playing okay before I blunder in here, rook like a moron here. So anyway, other than that, I probably played a good game. So okay, I'm playing Chess Lover again. I think I played him before, like earlier in the stream, if I remember correctly. He was one of the early opponents. Let's play ready opening, and yeah, you shouldn't play knight f6. You should push like d4 or something instead. Because now I just go e4 and just get a very strong grip in the center. I probably should have gone d4 first, because now we can at least play c5 and get a bit of space. But once I get this position, it's just very, very nice. So I'll go bishop d3, set a little trap with knight d4, take bishop to b5. So if he castles, I'm just going to go e5. I think we had something very similar to this in our other game as well, if I remember correctly. But I think there I played like 1 c4 instead. So okay, I'll take. I could have either queen c2 or queen e2. I kind of like queen e2 better, because even though it takes a move longer, it actually threatens a checkmate. f6 probably a very decent move on his part, but it's still a bit of a concession to weaken the e6 pawn like that. I can very easily bring my piece to go attack it, or I can even play queen e4 first. I'm going to set a trap. I'm going to go h4, because if he takes, I go queen e4 and I have a nice fork. But if he doesn't take h4, it's still very useful, kind of bringing the knight in the attack like this. I hit this guy, and I'm also hitting the pawn on e6 here. And yeah, I mean, it's not really clear what black is going to do about it. I mean, if he plays bishop g5, that's probably his only way to avoid giving up material, but I can even take with the pawn in that case. Now he's really asking for knight h7, and I think it's just a very good move. King h7, queen h5, and I end up getting in bishop g6 and just picking up some material. So I'm curious to see what he does about it. Okay, he probably should have just given up the exchange with knight h4, because, yeah, now he's just... Well, if he's not getting mated, at least he's very close to getting mated at this point. If rook e8, I can even just take the rook, and I'm just a rook up for nothing. So, normally speaking, this is where black would just resign, but he's probably going to allow... Yeah, he allows mate in 1 instead. Okay, let's find another opponent to play. This was a kind of short game. I'm not going to do the game review for it. Okay, so I'm playing a 1700-ish guy. Let's play French defense just for a little bit of variety. And yeah, bishop c4 is not a very good move against the French, because you can see now this bishop has lost time moving back, and, you know, I can even play a move like c5 and just grab a lot of space in the center. It does not play d4, and I think I remember playing something like this against him previously. I'm going to take, and then I'm going to play bishop c5, putting some pressure on his knight like this, and that gives me the time to get my king castle before a rook comes here. Now, bishop e3 is actually a pretty decent move on his part. He's trying to go knight c6, so I just queen b6 covering it, keeping the pressure on knight and potentially allowing me to avoid having an isolated pawn any longer because of the piece exchanges on c6. I take back with the pawn so that the d5 pawn is then well protected. So just like this, take, and yeah. I mean, position is probably a little bit better for black, but it's still relatively solid for white. It's going to take some time to increase the pressure. Bishop e3 wants to avoid bishop f5, but I can still go along this way. Maybe try to... I was going to say provoke f3, but he can't even do that because of the pin. So he's probably going to go queen c1 and, okay, rook e8, just fight for the control of the open file here. Just a very logical way to play this. And I might play a5, just try to weaken him on the queen side a little bit. So he goes b3. I might play h5. It's probably not the best move, but I want to go h4, h3 and try to weaken his king. Because if I just sort of do nothing here, it just is very solid and it's quite hard for me, I think, to really push for a win. But this way I can try to create some sort of imbalance. Unfortunately, I had to play bishop h5 because he was going for knight df3 if I moved the bishop back. And his pawn would kind of be a weakness. Okay, let's put the queen on a central square, queen d4. I can build up on the e file, like rook e7, rook e8, and make it very difficult for white to really get his act together. You know, if queen a3, just rook e8, and he still can't really do anything. Now, f4, he wants to go knight f3, but I think this is a kind of weakening move I can take. And I can even play like knight h5 and just use that really lovely g3 outpost that h4 has given me. So you can obviously do kind of tactical opportunities I'll be able to get because of this move h4. Now I see that the track has just ended, so I'm just going to just set it to repeater. So let's just have it so the track is repeating. I guess, yeah, it gives a little break. Okay, let's play rook e3. Yeah, actually on the break, I just realized how good this move is because it really isolates that f4 pawn, really big weakness. You can see his bishop left is a light squared bishop, so it's not really in a position to defend it. So okay, I'm going to trade the queens. Even though his king is more open than mine, I was worried about knight f4, rook f1, and some pressure here. Whereas now rook f1, I can just even take the bishop and play rook e3 and just keep a lot of pressure. So let's play rook e2, just threaten rook g2, keep the initiative. Like, endgame's a lot is just about basically piece activity, keeping the pieces active and not really giving the opponent time to sort of untangle. I mean, now I'm threatening to take the pawn, but he can't really defend it with the rook because then I go here. You probably should have gone c3 because now I just take the pawn for free and he resigns. Let's find a different opponent to play against to have a little variety. Okay, so play a 2159 guy. It says Sherlock Holmes, but actually the flag is India. I haven't played e4, e5 a lot lately, but I know that for those relatively inexperienced players that you tend to probably play, most you probably play this move of e5. So yeah, let's see how it goes. It says I have 0 viewers, it's kind of sad. But queen e7 is a really nice idea, where the point now is that I can play it like, you know, with d5 and suddenly this pin onto e5 is kind of annoying for white. He goes queen e2. I mean, I can always just take even and just play knight f6 and it's still going to more or less force the trade of queens. And in that case, I mean, I can even play knight c6 and keep the tension. Because if he takes me, I can get my bishop to have developed with the recapture. But now I can he takes and he doesn't get his knight developed for free. That was a little salty I did there, a little bit advanced. Now, if I play bishop c5, the only question is can he go b4 and b5 and try to win the pawn back. On that reason base, I think I should just take and maybe just bishop. He wants to go knight b5, so maybe just bishop b4. And maybe I will actually give up the bishop here. Well, if he'd played castle, I was thinking of giving it up. But after bishop d2, I think I can just pin his knights, you know, pinning and winning, as they say. My rooks are going to come to the center, and I mean, I'm just a pawn up for absolutely nothing here. So it'll be interesting to see how he tries to generate some sort of compensation. I'm hoping that you know, no big technical problems happened here. Because, yeah, right now I'm just talking to myself. That's great life, just talking to yourself the whole time. It's meant to be a sign of insanity, apparently, that you constantly talk to yourself. But, you know, at least there'll be people watching the replay later. At least I hope so. That's my way of justifying it. Let's go knight e4. Let's get my bishop active. So, yeah. I mean, definitely, like, one good bit of advice I actually got from Charlie Soto, who I call like the king of, I think it is fair that we can call him the king of what's it called, of YouTube, not YouTube, of Facebook gaming for chess, because he's got like the most followers on his streams by far. But yeah, he likes essentially advice like having a schedule, and kind of my hope is that if I do have like a schedule, that, you know, we'll get more views. Of course, while I was talking about it, it's blunder exchange like an idiot, but hopefully it all works out. I mean, he should probably just move the knight away, because then I have the bishop on pre, so it doesn't really give me the time to take his bishop so easily. But after this, I'm kind of okay with this, because now I'm hitting his rook and I'm hitting the bishop. So it does mean I'm going to get the material back, and then I'm still a pawn ahead. So although I played the ending pretty badly and, you know, allowed some unnecessary complications. Okay, I completely blundered rook g3. And if takes rook bishop e4, he just pins my bishop and I have nothing. So I kind of have to go bishop e4, I think, in that case. And, well, I mean, my position is just worse. I'm down in exchange and just playing very, very badly, like I said. But now he just blunders a rook on pre. Like, kind of funny, like, it's like my completely idiotic play is somehow contagious today. Okay, so now I go knight d3. Actually, I can take the bishop for free. But will I throw in a check? Yeah, let's throw in this check, because why not? King b3. Now I'm just up 2 pieces, and he resigns. Let's find another opponent to play. The reason I'm playing these games is that also, like, I would probably be doing it anyway, even if I wasn't streaming, because it does give me more games for the Crystal League, and, you know, I do want to try to get in the top 3 in that league and qualify to the higher level league in the process. So this is a way to do it and share my thought process of the games at the same time. Actually, I remember Hikaru Nakamura did this sort of setup against me in a Blitz game. Although he played it with queen takes d5, not with bishop takes, which is a better way to take with the queen, because now, yeah, he's got some big problems with his light squares. And, I mean, I can even just play like c4, knight c3, rook e1. Again, just develop the pieces very classically. And it's going to be very hard for black to do a lot about it. c3 is obviously a mouse slip. I meant to put the pawn on c4. But c3, I mean, is not terrible either, to be fair. So rook e1, I can always play like knight d2 and still get the pieces out. So what will he do? Like knight f6 seems quite natural. But then I can go even d5 if I want to and try to use that pin to my advantage. I think that's what I'm going to do. And if e5... Yeah, I don't really think too far about e5. I mean, if you go to bishop b5, try and go rook e5, you can then also play bishop d6. So, but yeah, instead he just blunders a knight for free, and that makes an easy win for me. So yeah, he takes, I'll go bishop b5 check, kind of forcing king e7, because he doesn't really have a good way to block the check otherwise. And I mean, I can even play, you know, bishop g5 if I want to. I mean, it looks like a blunder at first because of f6, but then bishop h4. And he can't take my rook because I have this. And if g5, I can actually go rook g5. It's a really nice tactic if we take everything. I have this skewer on the king and on the queen. And, well, I actually get to see it in the game now, rook g5. And I think that this works pretty well. At least I don't see anything wrong with it. And yeah, now I just win the queen with the skewer. Just thinking of how much longer I'm going to kind of play for. I mean, I think what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to make this... I think we actually just hit an hour mark. Okay, the previous stream was, what, about 30 minutes long, so I might play another, like, 30 minutes or so just to kind of get the... Let's get, like, the runtime up, because I have one of the requirements I need to be able to actually, like, apply for, you know, for stars, is I actually need to have, like, 100 people like my, like, this gaming page that I have here. But, and also enough, for fact, I also need to have, I think, like, 4 hours. I thought I forgot already the amount of content. For some reason, 4 hours is what comes to mind, like 4 hours in the last however many days. But anyway, obviously your support helps with that, and you can see my opponent has played a bad move, auto at b6, bishop b7. You want to do it after you've castled, because now queen a4 is really strong. I'm hitting the knight, but I also have another threat, which I invite you to try to find here. If they play a move like, let's say I play queen c7, like what would you play then as white? Okay, just blunders the queen and end up just winning very quickly against 2096 rated player, but like already he's kind of in trouble because if he goes queen c7, I can just play like knight c6 and discover an attack on the queen. Like this is the other threat. Let's play another 3-minute game. Okay, I get this 2-150 guy again. Let's play b3, do a little bit of variety. I know Hikaru likes to play these sort of subs a lot with white, or at least he used to in the past. Now I think he plays like 1e4 more often. Yeah, f5, he's trying to play like a Dutch defense, but it's not as good when white can get this pawn on d5. And I just have to just kind of castle long. You put a knight on f4, play like h4, and you just go f3. I had a bunch of games this on Chess24 actually, where I just kind of, you know, just got a really strong attack and won very easily. And I mean, now I'm also just seeing another problem with playing f5 at this e6 square. There's a really big hole in the position. I'm wondering if I really am that afraid of g5. I honestly don't think I am, because it does weaken his king a lot. And I mean, I can either go knight e6 potentially as a pawn sack, or I can just play normal knight h5. I'm going to play knight e6 because I think that with f4, I'm going to just rip open the king, and I think with knight d5 as well. Like, this is a really nice trick I know from the Bayonet King's Indian, that I can't go queen e6 because knight c7 and I fork the queen and the rook. But he also, I'm hitting this bishop as well, which is kind of annoying for him. So he plays rook e8, but he's not really threatening anything, and that gives me time to go f4 and just rip open the king using the hook that's been given to me with g5. If takes, I actually have kind of a choice in which way I want to take. You could really make an argument for both captures here, actually. I think I'm going to take with the pawn, however. And the reason for that is I want to kick this knight away and go for g4. Of course, I could still do it with knight f4 and keep this pawn alive, and maybe that was the better move. But, you know, now I can even think of moves like, oh, he just blundered bishop f6. And, yeah, he just didn't see it at this covered. It's kind of funny because I didn't see it myself for a second. But, yeah, this is indeed winning for me. After c6, let's take... I'm going to play queen d6 after that. I'm just up a piece for nothing. Yeah, so knight g6. Okay, there's knight d5 hitting these two guys. But I can just play e7 and just defend everything. I'll play bishop c4, even rook d5. And I mean, it's just completely game over. Because after rook d5, he can't even take it, actually. Okay, he resigns. It's okay, let's find a new opponent. I want to try to play something a little bit different each time. Just a little bit of variety. And, you know, I know that there are a wide range of skill levels watching this video, or at least maybe watching the replay more precisely. So I know like, there'll be some of you who maybe are relatively new to this. There'll be those who have a lot of experience already, and so it's nice to see, you know, kind of a range of different opposition and how to kind of beat each different level, trying to cater for everyone. So knight 6 is now the Alekan defense, and knight c3 is not really the best way to play it, because he managed to basically trade off my knight that normally gets kicked around for me. And also with the double pawns, I now find it much easier to try to attack this pawn. But maybe I'll just develop the position first, like bishop e7. And now he's offering this pawn up as bait. And I'm wondering if I should take it or not. I think it's just a safe pawn grab, so I'm going to take it. I'm doing it this way because knight h4, he runs into this, and queen d2, well now... I mean, I can even just retreat the bishop back. And, you know, he can take h7, but then it's going to get kind of trapped. Okay, let's play h5 here. And I'm just going to play like g6, just have a complete blockade over the position. Now, c5 might be a bit too ambitious, but Okay, I don't think you can really open me up with c4, because I can always play like dc4 or d4 and cover it. But without c4, it's not really obvious what white's break is. And if you play rook g1, I just go g6, and the sacks just don't really work when I can still run my king over to the queen side. If I was castled, then yeah, then it's a very different story. Then my king would be under a lot of fire. But the fact I haven't castled is actually an advantage. Now, I might go c4 next move. Okay, he plays c4 himself to try to deal with it, but now I can just take, and I actually end up winning a second pawn, because the bishop now moves away from the defense of e5. Bishop c3 is kind of clever, but it doesn't really change too much, because just bishop here, and I can even play like knight g4 or knight d7. I'm going to play knight d7 just because it's a little bit more solid looking. And, you know, king e7, I could play a pawn to b5, grab some space. But, like, white's not really threatening anything at this point, and I can just put my rooks in the center, just steadily expand. Not to mention I also have the passed h-pawn, and since he's down 2 pawns for nothing, he did resign. Let's look for a different opponent to play. So, okay, who have we got? We've got the same opponent, funnily enough. Let's go knight f3. Let's go d4 this time. Maybe play like classical Queen's Gambit with c4. We're in a Slav defense with a pawn on c6, and I'm going to play a4 this time. Now for bishop f5, I'm going to play knight h4. Let's play a little bit different to my usual knight e5 or pawn e3. The idea of knight h4 is just harassing the bishop, so the idea is you can kind of go after the bishop like this, and then in the process you're eventually going to go e3 and get the pawn back. But okay, it goes bishop c8, which is kind of a bit weird, and now I can even go like knight f3 and just say that this was kind of a useful extra move for me. And knight d7 is not really the best move, because now I just get the pawn back very easily. Because if he goes knight b6 to defend it, I just go a5 and kick the knight back. So he's probably going to play like a5 himself at some point to deal with it. But I could also beat him to a punch with a5 myself. I don't know if it's the best move, maybe a central approach was better, but it feels very natural, and it also provoked this little mistake where he lost 2 tempo with the rook now. I think I'll just play rook e1, you know, bishop b4, I can go queen a4, I'm going to go queen d3, kind of just centralize everything. I don't know if knight e5 was best, because now he gets knight g6 in, but I guess I can take it. Maybe go a6, just to get that pawn in his face. b5, bishop b3, and now the c6 pawn is his main weakness. Although, to be fair, my a6 pawn is kind of weak as well, which is probably why a6 was a bit dumb in retrospect. Maybe after queen we just have to play a move like d5 to try and keep this extra pawn alive somehow. Bishop b4 is kind of annoying. Maybe I have to try to attack somehow, but I'm not really in a great position to attack him. So maybe I just go rook ed1 and just renew the idea of d5. But yeah, I really misplayed this position very badly here. Like, I'm going to probably lose a pawn. I think I have to go d5 and just hope for some sort of miracle at this point that he blunders into complications. So I'm pre-moving takes. Yeah, I thought he would play this move. And I mean, now he can even just, like, you know, take the pawn, and he's just a pawn up. Just played so badly. But for some reason he chooses not to do this. And I'm kind of happy to see that I can keep my pawn alive. So rook d8, maybe I go bishop b7, just make sure I can take back with the rook and keep my pawn defended with the bishop. It's kind of a nice anchor, because if I can go bishop e3, then the pawn a6 is actually very useful, because I can then win a7 and have a pawn that is very, very close to queening. So what's next up here? Okay, so yeah, still like no one watching this video, still me talking to myself. So I think on that basis, well, let's play bishop e3, let's gain the tempo on the queen. And then I'm going to take this pawn, take a7, and I mean, this is just very nice for white after that. So yeah, let's take, and I'm going to take a7. He can't really even defend it, to be quite honest. I mean, let's go bishop e3, a7, a8 queen, and you know, that's all she wrote. And if he takes the rook, I'm probably going to play rook takes just to keep my rook sort of active. Fortunately, he doesn't have any back rank mate ideas, because I always have h2 as a Luft square for the king, showing how useful this h2 move was before. Let's go bishop e3, just prepare a7, a8 equals queen. And yeah, he's trying to go for some exchanges. I mean, he's hoping for rook d8, queen a1. This is his trick, but just rook c1 keeps it all defended. And when all he appears to defend it, it makes it much harder for the opponent to get any sort of cheap tactics against you. A little tip for Blitz. Okay, so this one, I might make this my last game, because, I mean, no one is watching the stream at the moment. I mean, unless they're watching the replay. If you are, well, welcome. So I'm just going to make this the last game, and, like, not this one, but the next one the last game, and then I'll wrap up the stream from there. Kind of fine, get a 480 rated player. Maybe I can just do something, like, kind of random, like, just do the transvestite opening. For those who don't know what the transvestite opening is, it's where you basically switch the position of your king and your queen. So I'm kind of just doing it just like a final, like just mess around kind of game. So I'm going to play like King E6 and yeah, we're going to have a good laugh at this. Well, hopefully it's not like a laugh at my expense. Like it's always a fear like that you do this and someone just bashes out the refutation and then you end up losing. Like F5, for example, is a really good move. Because now I go Bishop F4 and I'm kind of forced to give up some material there. But fortunately for me, he does not see that. And now I kind of get like the... Well, I want to complete the transverse. Like I want to go Queen E8 and then King D8. And, you know, get that sort of completed just because it kind of looked kind of funny. The thing is, Queen E8 is actually not such a bad move because it does actually attack the pawn, funnily enough. So let's do that. Because he could fall for something like Bishop D3, Bishop F5, and he can't take because of the pin to the king. And you can see that's actually what he fell for. So now actually Black is kind of doing okay because I'm up a pawn and my position is ugly, but it's not that terrible. And if Bishop D3, I mean, I can even just retreat the bishop just in anticipation. I mean, technically I don't have to move the bishop because he was threatening to take, but he would be threatening it after castle, so it's easier just to get out of it in advance. And I can even do like an artificial castling, like Rook C8 and King B8, which is known as castling by hand, by the way. That's a good moment for me also to fill up my water. Now, D5 is actually a very decent move, because if he goes C5, there's Knight B5 and he gets the pawn back. So yeah, this is a very tricky idea. Maybe I have to play like Knight E5 and just try to block up the center so he can't get at my king as easily. Nearly spilled the water all over the table. Okay, that's a better grip. So yeah, Knight E5, I mean, I expect him to play D takes C6 and Rook C1 and just try to put the rook opposite my king. As then my king would not be completely safe. But if he gives me time... Okay, Bishop E5, I'm very happy to see this. Because he gave up his bishop pair and he activates my bishop. And I mean, my king is still not all that safe, but if I can put my bishop here, it definitely makes things a little bit more solid than before at the very least. So I'm expecting King H1, we take with the pawn, because we don't want to let the knight get into our position. Rook C1, I maybe go... Okay, here's Queen A4, I think I'll play Knight E7. And maybe even I can consider bringing the knight around to protect the king. That could be a very decent and interesting idea. I think I picked up like from Peter Spiller, like just saying decent all the time when I was watching like his banner blitzes on Chess24 in the past. But yeah, Queen A5 is not the best because now he just loses time with the queen. Whereas Bishop B6 is a move I was going to play anyway to get off that C file and not have this come under fire. So Queen B4, I mean I could even go A5 if I wanted to, just kick the queen around. It does open my king a little bit, so maybe it's not that great of a move, but it also kicks the queen to a worse square, I guess. I mean, now I could maybe play Knight C8 and bring my bishop back to the defense. So Queen A4, you can see he doesn't really have a great plan when he is moving back and forth all the time like this. Though he could play B4, that would kind of open my king, and that would be a bit annoying. Luckily for me, he does not see this idea, and I'm basically able to kind of consolidate and get my house in order, and now Queen D3, and yeah, I mean, at this point, you know, Knight A4, you just trade queen, so he just doesn't have a great way to follow up the attack. Again, I'm just happy to trade queen so I'm up material, and it's also good to trade the queens when your king is less safe than its counterpart. So yeah, it looks like he's probably going to play on until he loses on time. But yeah, it's well, I mean, I guess it's a good moment to thank you guys. Well, for those who have watched the stream, you know, good to see enjoying it and enjoying some Grandmaster chess. It's kind of really unfortunate that the stream did kind of go down because of the blackout that happened in my place. That really greatly reduced the amount of viewers. That instead of having like 5, 6 weeks, we were stuck with like 2 viewers maximum. But I guess we are going to be grateful for what we got. And over the next stream I can get some more viewers. Definitely when I have that daily schedule, that will make things a lot easier. I do actually have a draft schedule written up that I'm going to put up on my page once once the stream is done, so that'll be very soon. And yeah, I mean, now he's just down a lot of material. Kind of hoping he allows a back rank mate. Okay, he allowed the back rank mate. Let's end his suffering a little bit more quickly. Okay, so that was this stream. Yeah, glad that you guys enjoyed it. And, well, that's about all from me. And, well, I will add as well that there is a link as well that I have in the description, I believe, where, I don't have the stars donation option available because I need to have 100 followers. I think a few other requirements well before the stars are unlocked. But if you want to show your appreciation and leave a donation, you can check the PayPal link that I have, where it does really help me out quite a lot and helps support me to continue doing the streaming. This is something that I don't just want to do as like a casual thing, but I do want to have like daily chess streams on Facebook Gaming and ultimately, basically be the streamer on Facebook Gaming for chess and really bring chess to a much wider audience, because Facebook has so many people on here, but no one is really streaming chess for the most part. Like only a few people sort of occasionally. I've got to mention Charlie Sato as being the main guy who is doing it, but definitely want to be grandmaster. Like that's definitely a first for Facebook Gaming to my knowledge. So that's all from me. Glad you guys enjoyed the stream, and I will see you in the next stream. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend.